Hello, I'm Brent Horn with Team Dragon, and today I'll be showing the sprint review video for PNP7 Milestone 1. Today we'll be using the changeless number 770574. So let's get the exe open here. First we're going to start with drag 599. As the player, I want for the UI elements in the game to be automatically scaled to my resolution so that no elements go out of screen. My current monitor resolution is 4K. Anchor all UI elements properly so that they're always at the points they're meant to be at. Right now the UI elements are within the center, and if I were to open up the game, then the UI elements here, for instance, anchored up at the top right, and if we talk to lane, then they're all at the bottom, which is where they should be. Have all UI elements scale automatically dependent on the current resolution of the game. As I said, I'm right now in 4K, and in previous builds, the dialogue options were very tiny, and now they are large enough and they fill up my screen as they should. They're as big as they're meant to be. Next is drag 595. As the player, I want for long text to wrap into the text box so that it doesn't go out of the text box and become unreadable. The first criteria is find which text boxes are unreadable, and an example of one of those was one of the first lines from Vladilena. If you try to talk to Vladilena, then what happens is something else, she says right here, would actually go off the screen and start to cover up her portrait. The second criteria is fix their lines, which has happened. The line now basically wraps into a new line here. The something else loads up onto a separate line, so that way it doesn't continue to go on. And make sure that these text boxes are now confined to the text box, which it is. It is within the text box. It loads up the new line. If you try to talk to Tanya, for instance, she says all that stuff, and it used to also go off the screen, but now it's within the text box. And drag 582. As the player, I want for the NPCs to appear unique from one another, so I can tell from a glance who is who without having to talk to them. Completion criteria 1, create a method for sprites to appear on top of the NPC objects, which they do. As you can see, there's Reimu, Vladilena, Kobeni, Kanbaru, etc., etc. Make sure that these sprites can still be clicked to initialize dialogue. Yep, if you try to talk to Vladilena, then dialogue opens up. Create a sprite for the Tanya NPC, she's right there. Create a sprite for the Vladilena NPC, she's right there. Create a sprite for the Reimu NPC, she's right there. Blah, blah, blah. Create a sprite for the Kobeni NPC, she's right there. And then close out the shopkeep window. Create a sprite for the Kanbaru NPC, she's right there. She asks if you want to train, just say no. Let's go back outside. Create a sprite for the lane NPC, she's right there. And she acts as the guide, she's pretty much the tutorial. Create a sprite for the Maka NPC, she's right there. Blah, blah, blah. Create a sprite for the Victoria NPC, she's right there. Blah, 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 blah. Don't know why the pathing is messing up. Oh my goodness gracious me. Okay, let's just restart there so I can show the rest of my sprites. Alright, walk over this way, then we gotta walk all the way over this way, and then walk all the way over there, and teleport, go to the bandit zone, create a sprite for the bandit NPC, which is right there. Create a sprite for the bandit boss NPC. He is right there. And those are all the sprites that needed to be shown, and that is it. Those are all the tasks I've completed for this week, this milestone.
Hello, my name is Brian Harney from Tea and Dragon, and these are the tasks that I worked on for this milestone. Uh, First is DRAG 604. As the player, I want to be able to throw rocks, daggers, or flame dart spells so that I can attack enemies from a range. Completion criteria is that the use item or cast spell option for rocks, daggers, flame dart spells, or other throwable spells throws an appropriate projectile towards where the player is clicked and uses up the item or uses magic points as appropriate. So, start with daggers. Throws the dagger and removes them from the inventory. Start with 10 daggers. We now have 8 daggers. And then for spells, the flame dart spell is a projectile. This is the zap spell, which the starting wizard does not have. I will have to create a scenario where that is available easier. The second completion criteria is if the projectile hits an enemy, stat check is made against the player's throwing or magic skill as appropriate to the projectile thrown. This determines whether or not it hits and if it does damage to that enemy. So let's go to a zone with an enemy in it. We'll have to wait for one to spawn. And then the next completion criteria is if a projectile hits, the monster's health is appropriately lowered. This can kill the monster if it deals enough damage. So we should... There's one. Just off screen. So let's switch to throw in our firebolt. And if we land enough of these, it should... And you know what? It's probably a little bit too far off screen. So let's switch to dagger, maybe? Yeah, the daggers eventually killed it. Just took all the daggers because I'm a weak little mage who doesn't do a lot of damage. And then if any of those daggers missed, which statistically some of them did, yeah, we have no daggers left. So we should be able to grab anywhere on the floor plane. And that will give us back any daggers that missed. Then the final completion criteria has to do with sneaking. So we need to go into sneak mode and find us a new enemy. Oop. And of course that one spawned right on top of us. Let's just... Okay, so now that that's done, wait for a new enemy to spawn while we are in sneak mode, for which the icon for sneaking as a mage seems to have not loaded, but that's just a graphical issue. So now, if we throw a dagger at this guy, depending on our sneak skill, it may alert them to our presence. Assuming we can actually hit it over there. I see the problem. Uh, every time you throw a dagger, one of the other completion criteria, if the player is sneaking, a stat check is made for stealth. Failure alerts the monster to the player. Rocks are easier to throw stealthy than daggers. Magic isn't stealthy at all. So what happened is that we landed all 6 of those first dagger throws, and that brought a stealth up to 100, so we can no longer fail a stealth check. So I'll have to do another run of this to test it. Let's see, actually pick a thief class, and then just not put any extra points in stealth. Let's put it all into throwing. Wait for an enemy to show up. That was fast. If we can get close enough to actually hit it, it should. Oh, we're not actually in stealth mode. There we go. Again, I don't know why the player is disappearing in stealth. It should just be hazy. Oh, and of course we killed it with that hit. Well, I'm having trouble displaying it. I'm gonna cut it there. And the second milestone that I worked on, or second set of tasks for this milestone, was DRAG 603. As a magic user player, I want there to be spells that I can use in combat so I can defeat my enemies. So we're going to start up a magic user character. The completion criteria are in combat, a player with a magic score of 1 or greater can change from stab, slash, parry, and dodge to flame dart, zap, calm, and wind gust by using a toggle button. Those are 1-to-1 in terms of damage calculations and mechanics, identical to the normal sort of mundane versions of those abilities, except they use magic and intelligence on the back end to determine if they succeed or not, instead of strength, dexterity, agility. Makes the mage's life a little easier, because mage is kind of the easy mode. Just waiting for an enemy to show up. In combat, magic points are displayed if the player has a magic score greater than 0. There's an enemy. Let's get into combat. And see, magic points are displayed. Flame Dart deals damage based on magic intelligence, and is a relatively slow and hard-hitting attack, like Slash. Zap uses an electrified attack that is fast like Stab and has all the same abilities. Calm works like Parry, temporarily pacifying the monster. And Wind Gust works like Dodge, moving out of the way. But otherwise, completely unchanged from previous versions of the combat system. And that is what I worked on for this milestone. And we have died because we are a squishy wizard and I wasn't paying attention. Goodbye.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Hill, and I am part of Team Dragon, as you can see. The game we chose for this is Quest for Glory, and I wanted to talk about the 2 tasks I have completed. They're mainly for the background, but 2 different sections. One for the buildings, and another for the forest. I did a total of 3 drawings for the forest, but they are going to be used repeatedly. And I have currently did 3, and also 3 drawings for the building and inside the building for 2 other buildings. Like for the first building right here, as you can see, I have did the outside of the guild, and you can actually go inside of it if you go up here. As you can see, I did the inside right here. You got the backgrounds, you got the plants, you got the chairs, got the staff thing right here. plants, boxes, tables, everything necessary for the guild, and then we got the characters right there. Somebody else did the characters, but they're separate and they are not part of the background. So yeah, teleport. Uh, another. Those is two parts of the thing. So right now I'm gonna go to the jailhouse. So as you can see, we're in the jailhouse. This is also one I did. As you can see, I got the cage right here. I drew in the background a dog that's gonna be released for the character, and the desk for this character right here. Okay, now go teleport again. I'm going to go to the generic wilderness. As you can see, we got this pathway right here that the player can walk on and go to the next area. So, like right here. And this you get from right here. You can actually see there's like 3 paths right here, so you should go there, go down. And then I got the, yeah, those are the only 3 backgrounds I had done for this assignment. And that should be it for me.